So out of the box or out of the wall, whatever you want to call it, we have The Crow. Of course, you know I'm going to watch this because the new Crow is coming out this weekend. And it's very interesting because that Crow movie has been, I'm going to say panned, not by critics, but by if it even should be made. Like Jason Momoa is supposed to be in it and all others. But now you have Skarsgård in it. But we're not talking about that one right now. We're talking about the 1994 version with Brandon Lee. Does it hold up? How's the 4K quality look? Let's talk about this Crow right now. Chase Liaki here with the Blue Futon reviewing The Crow. So it's about a pretty simple premise. You're in a horrific city. You have a couple right before they're about to get married on 31 October. They get brutally murdered, and now a Crow, 1 year later, brings back Brandon Lee's character, and he is out for revenge. Period. Dot. End of subject. He wants just the 4 people. He doesn't want to kill anyone else. Kill the 4 people. You have Ernie Hudson in this. You have Brandon Lee in this. And it is a fantastic freaking movie from 1994. So before I go into the movie, I'm going to talk about some trivia aspects to it, what I find interesting, and just what I think the new Crow is going to change with it. So it's about the 4K quality and the sound. I think the sound is okay. I think there were some mixing issues with the very beginning with some of the dialogue, where I was having kind of trouble listening or hearing to what they were trying to say. I'm like, is that what they're trying to say, or what's the whole scene? But when the action comes, the gun violence, and just the overall, that type of sound, it's pretty sweet, and you could actually hear and have good 5.1 surround sound. Because it ain't 7.1, it's 5.1 FYI. The look of the movie in 4K, it still baffles me that how movies from the 80s, early 90s could look this freaking good. And yes, you could tell that there's a lot of miniatures in this movie. Yes, you could tell a lot of this fire effects. Some of it doesn't hold up, and that's fine. Of course, and also some of the shots where it's looking down in the rain scene. You could just, like I said, it's a lot of, I wouldn't say matting, but it's a lot of, filming plates and adding plates to plates to plates. And that is noticeable. It's completely noticeable, but still, for being a somewhat lower-ish budget movie for $23 million, it looks good. And the reason why it was a $23 million budget is because $8 million was added to it by Miramax after Paramount didn't want the film after Brandon Lee's death. What I find very interesting, though, is yes, this is a Miramax movie, which, if I'm not mistaken, Miramax is now owned by Paramount. Guess who released this? Paramount. Of course, Miramax. So I find that interesting that we are now in the age where this was sold to Miramax, which was owned by, it wasn't Disney. Maybe it was Disney, actually, because they also owned Touchstone. And now, guess who rebought Miramax? Paramount. And now Paramount sold this movie to Miramax. So I just think that's kind of funny to look at the history of what happened in that. And now the new one is by Lionsgate. So completely different. All right. So I do think when comparing this to the new one, which I haven't seen the new one, I'm going to see the new one Friday night, 4DX. That's the only time I can see it. I think it's at 9 o'clock, so I am not seeing it Thursday night or the video when this video comes out. I think they're going to get rid of the little girl in this movie. I think they're going to get rid of the main cop character. And I think they're going to add a lot of unneeded backstory, because if you watch this movie, it is no shit. Right off the bat, the murder happens. 5 minutes later, back from the dead. And the rest of the movie is revenge. Yes, you get the flashbacks here and there, and yes, you get the dialogue between Brandon Lee and Ernie Hudson, as well as, Ernie Hudson, the kid, as well as the kid and Brandon Lee. And I like that style of storytelling where you get to know these characters. However, when watching this trailer, first off, I hate the Post Malone song. Horrible. But I just feel like you're going to get rid of those different human connections that I think this character needs. But like I said, I could be completely wrong. But when looking at this movie, the tone, I'm going to say it's all over the place, but it is tongue-in-cheek. It has the dark humor, and it really works overall. Yes, there is some things that are off the wall in this movie, but in a good way. This movie takes itself seriously, but then it doesn't at the same time. You're probably thinking, what the fuck are you talking about, Chase? But what I mean is, like, you have Brandon Lee's character who is doing the goofy stuff. That is, the bad guys that are just, nasty people. But then you have this serious stuff with, like, the Ernie Hudson character and the cops. And then Brandon Lee trying to get revenge. And then you have the little girl and the mother. So, like I said, I want to say it's tongue-in-cheek, but it's a lot of dark comedy mixed with action and just really good tonal shifts. Like, there are movies where it's like, whoa, that tone switched really awkwardly. But here, I think it works extremely well. The director, Alex Proyas, if I'm saying that correctly, he's done this, Knowing, Dark City, Gods of Egypt, and he's kind of been off the movie making scene since 2016, if not mistaken. So I don't know if he's ever going to come back to make another movie. Who the freak knows? All right, but yes, when the action's on screen, it's fantastic. The movie itself is a fast-paced hour and 35-minute movie that's a simple revenge flick with a lot of violence, some nudity, and just overall well-crafted movie. It's based off a comic book, and apparently when Brandon Lee did die, the comic book creator wished he never created the comic book. So I found that very interesting trivia aspects as well. So yeah, like I said, watching these older films and trying to review it, I wouldn't say it's harder, but it's like one of those cult-ish movies where you have the same opinion as everyone else. I'm not telling you something new. For example, if I was reviewing The Big Lebowski, that is something where I could talk about because I think that's one of the most overrated films of all time. Yes, that's a hot take, but every time I watch Big Lebowski, I just don't get the humor in that one. The Crow, I get why I like people like this. Yes, the first 15, 20 minutes, it does feel like a different film because the tonal shifts of like, what is he doing? You're jumping off buildings, laughing, etc., etc. But yes, The Crow, it's shot well. It's written well. It has a good message. It's about the grittiness of, just some people are evil and just overall good revenge film. And I do like me a good revenge film. So The Crow will receive a 4.5 out of 5 with Futon, which equals at 90%. So let's see the critics and user scores gave this one. So you have critics at 86% with 72 of them. Audience score is now the popcorn meter. What the fuck? Okay, I'm still going to call it the user score. Sorry, over 250,000. Critic consensus. Filled with style and dark lure energy, The Crow is an action-packed visual feat that also has a soul in the performance of late Brandon Lee. It's pretty crazy, actually, if you read the story of how he died and just the incompetence of everyone on set. It's kind of bonkers. It just feels like a lot of people don't know how to handle guns, and it's pretty simple. Safety. Don't point it at anyone. Make sure it's unloaded. Shit like that, it just baffles me. Anyway, 8690. Chase Lock here at the Blue Futon. Like, comment, subscribe. One of things, Blue Futontopia. You Blue Futon, thank you for watching. Have a great day. I'm to stay tomorrow, week from a month, or a year from every single freaking one of you. Peace and love, and caw-caw! Caw-caw!